Well, I had a video just about to be uploaded, and then this new hiccup just occurred. Can't miss the show. I'll describe exactly what happened right now. Muy buena, mi gente. Aquí nos encontramos nuevamente en otro programa de fútbol con Bamba.
Dentro del área. Golpea Petit, Zidane y gol. Ha marcado Zidane el 1-0 para Francia.
Welcome everybody, and here we go, another show of Football con Bamban. And yes, I was just about to hit the upload button on YouTube to present one of my videos talking about Thibaut Courtois and Eden Militao coming back and projected to be back with the club. They have finally began to train with the rest of the squad and were projected to return on mid-April. However, we just got informed not too long ago, and even Real Madrid official site just started putting in the news that Thibaut Courtois just injured his knee once again, but not the same knee that he had the surgery, if not the other knee. So this is very sad because they're talking about that there's a ligament that actually got ruptured, and therefore he will have to go to another surgery and he will miss the rest of the season. And we should not know exactly still a projection about how long his recovery will come up. And we don't know if he will be back by the beginning of next season. So this brings a lot of concerns. We will continue to monitor in this, and we wish the best of the luck for Thibaut Courtois and a soon recovery about this, because we love Thibaut Courtois and we want him back in our squad once again as our guardian angel in the goalkeeping. So having this said, this probably has brought, I don't want to say great news for the current goalkeepers, but it brings a positive news for them that they know that their job security is a little bit better now in the moment, at least for the remainder of the season. And we're talking about Lunin and Kepa. So this is going to be very positive for Lunin, that has just earned the primary spot for goalkeeping, but he knows that if he gets injured or he does a step back, Kepa is going to be ready to be able to take over this position. So having this said, let's talk a little bit about a summary about what I had in the previous video, because the previous video was not only talking about the return of possibly of Eden Militao and Courtois, but it was talking also about what is the plans of Real Madrid in the signature party for this summer. So what are the new incorporations are being considered, or what's the rumors in the market about this summer acquisitions for Real Madrid? Now, talking about this about a couple, let's hit very quick with Militao. Militao has been promised to be back. He's trained today with the squad. He's looking good. He's looking at the same time. However, we know that being that this is going to be 2 weeks of national team, it's the stoppage in the leagues, and therefore Real Madrid has scheduled a lot of different simulation games between the second squad, Real Madrid Castilla, versus Real Madrid first squad, with the players that actually remain on the team and have not gone with their national teams. And this will help Eden Militao to be able to see himself a little bit against, you know, how he will feel in the rhythm of the game, to see how mental state is actually happening. And this will give a good idea to Carlo Ancelotti if he can actually count or not with Eden Militao. Plus, this will help psychologically Eden Militao to start bumping a little bit with the players, see how his knee responds, how his mental state is actually accurate at this moment, and seeing if he's going to be in the right path to be able to come back to play at the first level. So this is going to be a big test for him. This is a good time to actually rest and put himself to practice, not be overexposed. Now, the next game that Real Madrid will have officially will be at the end of March against Athletic Bilbao, and we will see how if Thibaut Courtois, I'm sorry, if Eden Militao will have some minutes or not, if Carlo Ancelotti is actually going to try him or not. Now, we know Carlo Ancelotti did a promise saying that by the 12th of April, he will probably be back by that time, which means that that's talking about the quarterfinals in the Champions League. So I don't know if the first game of the Champions League versus Manchester City will be a game that we'll see Eden Militao, but however, we might be able to see Eden Militao for the second leg in Etihad. So this is going to be very interesting. We'll monitor about this. If not, Eden Militao is actually doing a small progression going forward. And you will probably ask yourself, why the rush to bring Eden Militao back if he's not been, you know, active the entire year? He might not have still the rhythm of the game. Plus, his mental state is still questionable about him knowing and understanding that his knee is not that his knee is ready and he would not go back and fall into injury. Now, I know that listening to the news today about Thibaut Courtois might bring a little hesitation. Even in his mind, will start thinking, will that happen to me also as well? So that's something that everybody's going to be very aware and very looking forward to. But other things than that is the stability of Nacho in the center back. We know that with the missing of David Alaba and Eden Militao, Rudiger has needed a partner, and Nacho has been selected to be his partner. Now, Nacho has been having a lot more participation since last year in his entire career with Real Madrid. He's finally been a starter in the center back. He's given everything that he's dreamt for. He's been playing. He's the captain of the team. He's been active, usually in the squad. However, he's not having the most successful season this year. Now, this has put himself a little bit on the hesitant now to know if he wants to renew his contract or not. We know that last summer he was hesitant to know if he was taking advantage of a big payday with Saudi Arabia, but he decided to stay an additional year with Real Madrid. Now, being and knowing the pressure that is ongoing right now in Real Madrid, knowing that his performance has not been the best that he's had, it probably will bring questions back about him returning to Real Madrid. Now, with this said, an additional thing that is not keeping him too happy or confident, Nacho, is knowing that Carlo Ancelotti is starting to use a lot more Tchouaméni and the center back when the absence of Nacho has been available. But even Nacho coming back and being healthy, he still has used Tchouaméni and training him as a center back shared with Antonio Rudiger. Now, this is something that might bring concerns. And if by any chance in Manchester City, Carlo Ancelotti decides to go more with Tchouaméni instead of Nacho, then that might be a trigger for Nacho to consider not to renew and to move forward and say goodbye to Real Madrid. Now, having this said, has brought up one of the big topics, and it is if Nacho leaves, who will come? Now, there is a player that we know that Barcelona has been following and been very interested in Real Madrid as well. And it comes out to be that we're talking about Lenny Yoro. It's a young center back, 18 years old, playing in Lille in France, Premier on League One right now. And this is a player that has been very promising. He's lanky. He's very active. He seems to have good ball control. He's good with the head. He's fast. He's been able to anticipate accurately. He's been playing in the first level right now and having great exposure. And he's given a lot of heads been turning and looking interested to him, not only in the Spanish league, but in the Premier League and in the German league also as well, have made approach to this young player who is represented by Jorge Mendes. Now, being that Jorge Mendes currently right now, it's very tied up with Barcelona. It's one of the options that Jorge Mendes has been offering Barcelona. Now, we have known, or at least it's been rumored, that Lenny Yoro has said to Jorge Mendes' agent that if there's really an interest from Real Madrid, he rather goes to Real Madrid than any other club. So therefore, this could be because Real Madrid currently has Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and Ferland Mendy on their squad, and there might be a big possibility that they acquire Kylian Mbappe this summer. So therefore, he might want to be with his countrymen and feel more comfortable coming to Real Madrid, knowing that his progression is going to be a lot better being with countrymen and people that make him feel a little bit closer to what he's used to. So this is one of the advantages in this point for Real Madrid. However, one thing that is hesitant for Barcelona, knowing his financial limitations, has been that Lille has said and mentioned to Jorge Mendes that if any team is acquiring Lenny Yoro, they're willing to sell him, but only for 100 million euros. Now, we know that this is something inaccessible for Barcelona to be able to acquire, but this is something not only for Barcelona to not acquire, it's something that Real Madrid is not even going to go out to entertain this amount of money, because Real Madrid is not really in a need to have a center back, especially not a young player for 18 years old, and is not willing to go look for 100 million euros a center back in the market. Real Madrid, minding that it still has Eden Militao, David Alaba, and Antonio Rudiger as their top three going inside. So bringing a young prospect of 18 years old, which you don't know yet if it's going to be promising or not in your squad, it's a very humongous risk, especially to spend 100 million and then leaving them on the bench. That's not going to be very smart business. Real Madrid is known to do very smart businesses, and therefore it's not something that is sounding on the club like something that is going to be entertained. However, there is big promises that if the player really wants to come to Real Madrid, and Jorge Mendes is willing to do things, then there is a possibility that Real Madrid might entertain the option about trying to negotiate with Lille and see if they will be able to acquire this player for Real Madrid even this summer. Now, besides this, what other possibilities of acquirement Real Madrid has in the lookout for this summer? Well, we know Kylian Mbappe is one of them, and even though it has not been confirmed, he is one of the players that is strongly rumored that left Paris Saint-Germain because he had a pre-contract or something agreement with Real Madrid. That is strongly rumored. And even this champ yesterday kind of gave that indicative when Real Madrid gave no to the news of this champ that he would not allow any of their players represent France in the Olympic Games. This champ actually confessed on one of his interviews that he was having that even for Kylian Mbappe, it might be very difficult to participate in these games of Olympic Games, even though it's been rumored that that's his dream and that he was planning to, and that was one of his primary agreements with Paris Saint-Germain. However, Real Madrid, as I mentioned in the other video that you'll probably see later on, that Real Madrid, it's not wanting to overwhelm these players with multiple events this summer, and knowing that the Olympics are there and the Euro is right there, and then the preseason, and then the Real Madrid season, it's going to be very, very exhausting for these players, and that's why they have said that to the French national team. Not only to the French, to everything, but for further information on that, I just created a video for that, which should be uploading soon after this one. However, going back to the story, Kylian Mbappe might be an acquirement. The other rumor is Alphonso Davies. Now, we know that Alphonso Davies has been very strongly related with Real Madrid. We know he has told Bayern Munich that he's not thinking about renewing unless Bayern Munich spends an outrageous amount of money and a salary per year, which is something that we know Bayern Munich never does because they're very meticulous about how they spend their financial and how they conserve their financial healthy and their club. And this is one of the reasons why they've been known to let go of players that then they might regret, like they did with Toni Kroos and David Alaba, but they still rather let players go before over investing on and damaging a little bit instability on their financial health. Now, we're not saying that Alphonso Davies will be in Real Madrid. I'm just saying that Bayern Munich, knowing this information, if Real Madrid really acquires to go with him, it will take a big negotiation, and it might not happen until the end of the market in August, as it did for Toni Kroos for Real Madrid. Now, in this case, also one of the big stop signs that Real Madrid has is the price tag that Bayern Munich has initially mentioned, saying to Real Madrid, if you're interested in the player, it will cost you 70 million euros. Now, that's a number that Real Madrid, even though he could acquire, he could invest on it, it's not entertained about doing this negotiation. Now, we know that Real Madrid has really good relationship with with Bayern Munich, and is able to reduce that salary. We know how much he reduced the salary for Toni Kroos when that came up, and it's not unheard of that this might happen with Alphonso Davies, as that's the path that Bayern Munich is willing to go, and Real Madrid also is willing to invest. Now, Real Madrid currently right now is not in a major need to acquire this player. He knows that he has a year of a contract, and he's willing to probably wait for another year, and it comes out to be that he acquired Alphonso Davies for free next year. Now, this is something that Munich also knows on the part, and it's not going to willing to do, or at least it's not known to let players go for free as for fun. If this is a business after all, and if they can make some millions out of it, they'll make it. And as long as they feel happy about the amount and think it's a fair amount, they'll most likely will be able to negotiate with Real Madrid. Now, they still believe in Manchester. That Bayern Munich. I keep saying Manchester for some reason. I don't know. I had them in my mind. They still believe in Bayern Munich that they can actually revisit a negotiation with Alphonso Davies and convince him to stay. Now, we don't know if already there is a pre-agreement verbally between Real Madrid and the player that entertains the player to be able to say, no, I'm not entertaining an extension and I'm willing to stay with Real Madrid. Now, we will continue to find out on this information, but as I was mentioning, Real Madrid is not in the immediate need. They still have on the contract Felamendi, which also finished contracts next year, and it's under the revision to be renewed or not. And also, the player might be able to entertain the offers about Saudi Arabia that we know Saudi Arabia has offered a lot of money to be able to acquire this player. But we know Carlo Ancelotti loves Ferland Mendy. He thinks that Ferland Mendy is one of the best defensive left back in the world. And we know that Alphonso Davies, what he brings to the squad, it's a very high power offensive speed. And even though he lacks a little bit on the defense, he does provide a lot more by goals, provision, centers, dribble, speed, and offense participation. So that is something that has been very useful during the history of Real Madrid. We've seen it with Roberto Carlos, we've seen it with Marcelo, and we've seen it even with like Fran Garcia and Miguel Gutierrez, which that's another name that it might be coming back to Real Madrid this summer, which is Miguel Gutierrez, who was partially sold to Girona and 8 million euros. It's only what it will cost Real Madrid to get back. Now, we know that Miguel Gutierrez is having a phenomenal year with Girona, and this has opened the eyes on multiple squads in Europe that are interested in him, and therefore has caught the attention to Real Madrid to probably buy out his half to come back by 8 million euros and be able to have Miguel Gutierrez practice with them in the preseason, and maybe even see if Carlo Ancelotti is still not convinced with him, they might get a lot of money of him selling him forward to another squad. So that is Fran Garcia, Ferland Mendy, Miguel Gutierrez, all of them interested in coming back to Real Madrid or being Real Madrid next year. And that's why Alphonso Davies right now, even though it's a big acquirement and it's something that Real Madrid might consider, it's not in the priorities of the club. Now, from having that said, next question is talking about 100 million, talking about whatever we're going to pay Kylian Mbappe, talking about 70 million for Alphonso Davies. Will Real Madrid be able to do these three acquisitions if he wants to? Well, it is known right now that Real Madrid is one of the healthiest clubs in the world right now, economically and financially. And this is one of the reasons why I'm saying that any negotiation with Real Madrid will not be at the numbers that we have heard of from the different clubs. Knowing this, Real Madrid is very smart on doing business and is very, very, very good on bringing players with top names and revaluating them to a big, big number. We saw it with Jude Bellingham coming this year. That everybody was talking about how outrageous would it be that Real Madrid will pay 150 million which it didn't cost them to Real Madrid. It did cost them over 100 million to be able to acquire him, but it comes out to be that everybody was criticizing why would they invest in such a young player for that amount of money, and now he's worth 180 million, and every team now looks like, wow, we should have done the push for the investment. So this is some of the things that Real Madrid actually does, and when they put their eye on a players because they see something on them. And once they bring them inside, this club has the magic to be able to expose them or expose them positively or negatively. We saw that they paid a high price of money on Eder Hazard and it didn't work out. They paid a high price of money on Jovic and it didn't work out. Like they've not gone for some players that they wanted to have, like Julian Alvarez, and it's not worked for them. So these are things that Real Madrid does, but going back to the information about if they can afford this, yes, the answer is yes. Javier Tebas has confirmed that Real Madrid right now has increased their capital of investment and allowed to be able to invest over 700 million on a season. Now, this is something very significant because we know that Barcelona right now has the maximum capacity of less than 300 million. So by talking that Real Madrid has the capacity of spending for over 700 million is a lot of money that is talked about. And besides this, we've known already Real Madrid has already pre-agreed over 400 million that is going to be an income next season with the stadium, with the new stadium being built or inaugurated at the end of this summer. And it comes out to be that Real Madrid is going to have a magnificent mind. And, you know, there's all these extracurriculars activities that are going to happen in the new stadium, concerts, NFL games, basketball games, professionals presentations. There's so much things that are going to happen, and they've been already pre-booked on the stadium, and they're saying that things are way over 400 million. I say 400 million because that's the first number that it came up immediately officially that has been guaranteed already for next season for Real Madrid in the new stadium, but they've been talked about that it's probably going to be duplicated by the end of the year, be booking on everything week in, week out on Real Madrid side. So this is very, very, very positive for Real Madrid. This is something that is giving them that new status, and that's going to be that extra income that Real Madrid needed to be under healthy. Now we know Florentino does not overspend on a lot of things also, even though we've known him that he's not shy when he wants something to actually put that money in there on the table. Now we know that he keeps everything balanced out. So if he does a lot of mega spending in somewhere, he actually makes it up by doing something else. And in this case, there's a lot of players that contracts are coming up, and there's a lot of players that might be on the walk over on and leaving the club in this summer. And we're talking about possibilities, like I mentioned before. Ferland Mendy is on the end of the contract. Dani Ceballos on the end of the contract. Luka Modric is on the end of the contract. Toni Kroos is on the end of the contract. Nacho Fernandez on the end of the contract, and Lucas Vasquez also as well. So, assuming some of these players probably leave, that will be a relief of spending that they have on salaries, and that will at least balance out a little bit more about all the spending that Real Madrid will be able to acquire with some of these players. So that answers the question about if Real Madrid can or cannot allow himself to invest on these type of players for this summer. So it's going to be very interesting, and I'll continue to investigate about everything that is ongoing. It's very sad, the news about Thibaut Courtois. We were so happy, and like I said, I made a video excited about how we will probably see Thibaut Courtois for semifinals of Champions League, and how in April he might have some chance to play against Mallorca or some of these teams completely in there that they could afford to probably test himself out with Thibaut Courtois. So knowing today that he just hurt his other knee is very sad, and we wish him a speedy recovery, and we hope to see him back again dressed as Real Madrid player. So if you're entertained and you like this type of videos, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't subscribed with us, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys until next time. And what? Fútbol con Bambán. Ciao!